Yo, Yang Gang, what is good? Typically, McCoy, us, we do streams on Tuesdays, but after today's fiasco, not right now, sweetie, not right now. After today's fiasco, this mess needed some attention, and we got to address it today while everything is still fresh and warm in the veins. And basically somebody said, hey, McCoy, do you guys think you should talk about it? I'm like, well, I don't know. Probably. And so reached out to L, told me. L said, okay. I was like, let's do it. Let's talk about this because right now we are in an utter chaos. And hold on, to kind of give context, I mean, this happened on the eve of the election of Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff.
No, this happened. I mean, the eve was yesterday, so that was the election of Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff.
No, but what I'm saying is John Ossoff's declared winner happened today.
Right.
He was declared the winner.
Okay. So
he was declared the winner today. So now we got a whole slew of stuff of what's going on, and we're like, okay, let's talk about this thing because obviously this is a mess. Elle, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, honestly, I just feel that I don't know. I don't know. Like, what is there to say? It's not like I don't want to sound. I guess like I don't know what the correct term is. Like sarcastic, sardonic when I say this, but it's not really our problem. Like that just seems to be kind of. I think like this is something that we've been warning America as a Black collective for ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they say, "Oh, listen to Black women," this is one of the things that they mean. It's like what are we to say? Like this doesn't really feel like our problem. Like we have nothing. Like we have nothing to say to add. It's like, hey, this crazy shit could happen. Like this type of verbiage isn't good. This is not safe. This isn't cool.
Mm-hmm.
Trump rallies happening and people got guns and cops aren't really doing anything. Hey, like maybe pay attention to them a little bit more. Oh, the BLM protesters, aren't carrying anything and are peacefully protesting, as the news said 95% of the time. I think it was quite.
Yeah.
And, they were tear gassed and rubber bullets were shot at them. And, the cops were in full on riot gear. And, this is just the same shit we've been seeing forever. So, like, for us to, it's just like, what do you want us to say? Like, we've already said everything we had to say. We've already said our piece several times.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's like this is Republicans' problem. Like y'all have to do something. Like we can't do anything. I can't do anything.
Hey, Tony.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I was talking about me and my brother. We talk all the time, and we were talking at the same time this is going on, and he was like, "Dude, what is going on?" He's like, "They're storming the Capitol now." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm watching it on live TV, watching everything that's going on," and so it's like, okay. What the world? And then seeing the clips of everything that's going on, and I turned to the CNN, and they were like, he's like, this is outrageous. He's like, this is outrageous. If this is what we fall into as a country, then he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know what to say. He said, have it been a Black Lives Matter protest, and they stormed the White House in the same way, in the same fashion.
They wouldn't have stormed the White House. They wouldn't have stormed the Capitol. I mean, they wouldn't have stormed it. They wouldn't have gotten to that point.
Fair enough.
Like there would have been just, you know, like police officers in riot gear up and down the steps of the Capitol, ready to go, like they were in the summer during the BLM protests.
Agreed.
And this protest today wasn't a surprise. You know, they weren't just hiding in the shadows, you know, planning this. I saw it around Twitter. I saw it. You know, it was pretty well known. So for them to be surprised at it, that to get this out of hand makes me feel like they haven't really been paying attention to what's been going on, or they've just been sweeping it under the rug, or they just don't frankly care. And now that I guess that they actually got into the Capitol, maybe they care now. But like, I feel like I've just been saying this hopeful shit for so long. Like, oh, maybe this will be the time. I'm the type who's, I'll believe it when I see it.
And you know, it's sad too, because I look at it like this, and I look at all the protests that's been happening in the summertime. People getting tear gas, shot with rubber bullets, like you said, and everything else. And here we are, we're looking at this mass mayhem that's going on, and nothing happened. Nothing. No tear gas.
It just goes to show how they can treat human beings, and things can be okay, and there's very little, you know, injury, you know, and very little consequence, you know, physical consequence especially. There was one woman, unfortunately, who got shot and killed. I don't know who shot her or what happened.
One of the police officers that was inside the White House, they shot her in the neck, and
oh jeez.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where, oh yeah, sure.
Go ahead. Send us your question. Go ahead and send us your question. We're talking about this thing, you know, and it's crazy. It's crazy. You see the stark difference of how, as Els pointed out, the stark difference of how the value of life has been treated. You see it in broad daylight. You cannot deny it. You cannot. There's no sugarcoating. There's nowhere around it. Like, no, we still live in a land where equality is still smack dab in front of your face. You see it. There's there's no excuse. There's no excuse. The Republican Party, you have no excuse. Those that support the Republican Party, you need to hold those people accountable, because if not, this kind of mess is going to continue to go unchecked, and then we're going to have a whole bigger mess on our hands than what we're seeing now. You know, again, as El pointed out, if it was a Black Lives Matter protest, it wouldn't even got that far.
No.
Without,
like, you wouldn't have seen lines of Black people all up and down the steps and everything. And you wouldn't have saw that.
No, you wouldn't have saw people in the scaffolds on the second floor of which Mitch McConnell's office apparently could have been at. Wouldn't have saw that. That would have not have happened at all.
No, and then taking pictures showing their face and everything, like not even hiding it, which is a bit ironic because they usually wear masks when they do things. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. You know, and again, I feel for you, because it's like, you mean to tell me, as far as the next leader of the free world, is those candidates. Okay. Let's see. My question is: we talk about unity in America. How can we? How? Okay. Okay. And I get what you're saying, Dark. I get you. I get what you're saying, Dark Sage. And I look at it like this: when I came out in support of Andrew Yang because I didn't like none of the candidates at all. I mean, heck, even when Bernie Sanders was running and it was between him and Hillary, I sided with Bernie because he made them, in my opinion, and at the time he made the most sense. I'm like, okay, Hillary for one, no, 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 not even a good choice. You know, Bernie, yes, a radical, sure, yes, old fart, definitely. But the old fart still got some gas in him to try to get some kind of change done to get America on track of where it needed to go, you know. And I caught a little flack about it. And even when I saw the what was it? I think it was like the Iowa primary, where literally that election was stolen from him, and everybody knew it was stolen from him. And you could tell it was just by the proof of the votes. It was like, yeah, he stole that. He got that election was stolen from him. And so it's like, okay, you know, fast forward now, Andrew Yang, he's on the scene. I'm like, I like the guy because he has practical sense. His policies, they make sense. It's one of those things where he's able to reach from not just both sides of the aisle, but reach out to everyone because he understands everyone has some kind of pain that is shared across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And there's policies that he has to put in place that can be shared across the board. It doesn't matter what it is. There's something that you need to be solved that nobody, no candidate has remotely put into perspective of what's needed in the 21st century. We got 21st century problems. We need 21st century solutions, not 15th century solutions for the 21st century. That's not going to work.
Mm-mm.
That's not going to work at all. And so even then, people talk like, oh, he's not going to do this, he's not going to do that. But dude, he's practical. He has solutions. What other candidate actually has some sort of solution that could actually work? Don't worry, I'll sit and wait. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say, like, how can all sides reach out to someone, who is understandably critical of everybody and not get attacked. Because I feel like it's such a huge mixture of 15th century. I feel like it's such a huge mixture of so many things. Like, first there's just just the state of the country and people living paycheck to paycheck, just like the weight of the stress of people of this country. So we're not in our best moods. There's that. There's social media, especially, that's heightening those stressors. That's making us feel okay with being angry, like being as if anger is just our normal state of being rather than happiness or just content or calmness. And it's understandably so when you're living paycheck to paycheck, or when you don't even know when your next paycheck is going to be, and you're stressed and you don't know how to feed your children, and you're angry and the news doesn't seem to be talking about you. So it just seems like the internet is just on a constant, social media is on a constant state of just anger. And I'm assuming Dark Sage gets attacked mainly on the internet. He can correct me if I'm wrong. So we already have this mob mentality of the internet. We also have social media. We're also constantly getting confirmation bias of our own. Social media is curated to our to what we read about, to what we Google search, to what we who our friends are on Facebook, who we like, how we react to them, what we say, what we comment. It's all curated to further put us into like these bubbles, and we're so far into these bubbles that we feel like we're absolutely right. There isn't like just one solution to be able to talk to, just have a debate, a dialogue with, people like Dark Sage. There isn't just like one solution. I'd say the biggest thing we need to do is find some sort of regulations with social media, because this is what the movie, the Social Dilemma said on Netflix said was going to happen is exactly what's happening. And they're storming the Capitol. Nobody's listening to the other side, so they don't know. So nobody's hearing one another. So if Dark Sage says like a critique of Hillary Clinton, like a rightful critique of Hillary Clinton. And if like I'm a Hillary Clinton stan, I'm going to see that as an attack, because that's what the internet taught me. That's what my social groups online have taught me, and how to thank you, and how to pretty much combat what you're saying, whatever critique you say. I know how to combat that because I've seen that so many times written on certain subreddits and whatnot. So we have to somehow curate and curtail social media in such a way that we are not living in these crazy ass tiny echo chamber social bubbles. So I feel like that's probably the biggest thing that would need to help, that we would need to cure, in order for people like Dark Sage to have just a normal dialogue and conversation with people on different sides of the aisle.
Yeah. And basically, because I know Cal Rip, he just joined there from Twitch. What's going on? And everybody else, I know, got Chaney showed up. We got Shay, Yang was on there, and whatnot. And basically,
yeah, like social media didn't create it, but it definitely heightened it. It definitely created a space for it. I understand your frustration for sure that we can't listen, because it definitely doesn't seem like the other side will listen to us. Like, as someone who is like in the Being Black in the Yang Gang episode, like I spoke about this, where one of the things I really loved about joining the Yang Gang and following Andrew Yang is that I was able to understand why people voted for Trump in the first place. I was able to empathize and understand. What I wasn't okay with is that I didn't seem to see that sort of reciprocation. It didn't seem like they understood why someone like me voted for Hillary Clinton, or why I lean more liberal or Democrat, or why Black people are going through the things that they are going through. I didn't really feel like I was getting so much of that reciprocation. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Channy. And I wish I had an answer for you, to be honest. Like, I really do. But
yeah, agreed. We gotta understand, and you're right. We got to, because as long as we keep having sides, that in itself is going to create division. Right. And you cannot support a house, you cannot support anything if there's division among it. You can't. It's not going to work. If anything, it's going to implode and then maybe explode on itself, and then you're going to have a whole mess to clean up. And scratch your head, well, where did we go wrong? It's like you went wrong when you didn't stop to take the time to understand what's going on. You didn't stop to take the time to understand how this person was feeling, and take in consideration that maybe there's some truth to what's been going on, and you could possibly help, rather than say, no, we don't care, we're going to push you away because your ideals don't match or line up with our ideals. It's like, Who cares? We're not the same person. We're not supposed to be like one another. We're different for a reason. We have a mind to think for a reason. We were created to think on our own for a reason, because we have different experiences. We have different outlooks, viewpoints, and everything else. It's and again, that could be traced back to the early colonials, where it shouldn't have been a difference, but because of the fact that wealth and power was something to attain and to hold, then based upon the person's skin, not necessarily based upon the person's character and their integrity, which it should have been from the first place, you have that. You absolutely have that. You have the not willing to understand or talk to the person, because you never know. That person might actually be a little bit more smarter than what you give them credit for. Mm-hmm. They may actually have a different viewpoint that can give you some real practical solutions if you give the chance to do so.
Right.
But because that never happened, here we are now. Of course, we're always going to have differences. Even amongst Black folks, there's differences. There's different opinions. There's difference of outlooks. There's different.
Not how we vote, though. I'm kidding.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Elle?
I said not how we vote, though. There's no difference. I'm kidding. We all vote the same.
For the most part, true. For the most part, true. But at the end of the day, when everything is all said and done for, it's like, listen, we just want to get one thing accomplished, and that's to make sure we have some type of legacy to pass down to our kids, to our grandkids, to the next generation behind, so they don't inherit the mess that we're living in right now. That they don't have to go through the same cycle that we're living in right now. Right, like what Andrew said when he was running during the campaign, like we want to live in America. So when we look our kids in the eyes, like no matter what happens, you're valued, you're safe, you're going to get taken care of. That's the kind of America we should be leaving for the next 2, 3, 4 generations, not this mess that we got going on right now. It's chaos. It's utter chaos. And again, it has to stop. And I'll look at it like this. In order for stuff to happen, we got to hold our elected officials accountable. We got to. We got to hold them accountable. We got to put people in positions of power that's not going to take it to the head, but actually looks like I look like Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce.
I look like Paul Pierce. I'll take it. At least Paul Pierce, he was a team player. I'll give him that much. He shot his shot when he made it. That was money. So I'll take that. Yes, they are hanging nooses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to do with politicians. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, you also have politicians in positions of powers that's enabling them to do that.
And fanning the flames.
Yes.
Like it's I mean, Joe Biden said something like this earlier today. It's like the words of a president matters, like no matter what they're saying, like the words of a leader, a person in power matters. I can, just go into the middle of a supermarket and say, I don't know, Wu-Tang Clan sucks. And that wouldn't really do anything. So I'm not really anybody. But if I don't know, like a celebrity, like if Kanye West were to go into the middle of a supermarket and say that, granted, he's not like a community leader, but a lot of people look up to him and, see him as, someone that they admire and envision he's a celebrity. And he said that in the middle of a grocery store, that's going to be huge news. That's going to be a huge thing. And then we're going to be talking about it for probably weeks on end. And it's going to come up, in our social media feeds for years on end about that, and people are going to reference that forever. So yeah, for sure, like leaders, like people higher up, people with essentially a lot of clout, a lot of followers, a following, what they say matters.
Mm-hmm.
So that that's definitely important. Like if my mayor was saying some like anti-Semitic bullshit, then I would feel some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like it would matter. I would feel for the Jewish community in my area, and I would not want them to live in like in this area if the mayor of the county said something like that. Or I tried to vote out the mayor, try to get rid of him so he doesn't, so he has no more power. So, but it would definitely embolden the people who are anti-Semitic in this county to do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed. And again, it goes to show, like Elle said, like leaders have a way with words, and you got to be careful, because once they're out, it's not like you can take them back and say, "Oh, my bad, I didn't mean that." No,
even though they try, and and it always fails.
Yeah, and it's like if you would have took like maybe a few seconds to kind of think about what you said and phrase it in a way where it's going to be more positive than negative, then please do, because you represent not only yourself, you represent your city, your county, your state, your family. You represent everything, Oh yeah.
What about?
Oh, you thought about it probably in reference to what Trump said, as far as what Trump said to the supporters. I mean, again,
yeah, probably because he had like all day to think about it.
Yeah,
he was at the Capitol himself, watching TV, seeing everything unfold.
Yeah, and it's sad. It is. It's sad that this current generation and the generation that's coming up next, this is basically what they're living through. Hey, Anna. Wild Bill, what's up? This is what they're faced with. And so now they're going to be stuck with, okay, what are we supposed to do if we do things peacefully? If we do things peacefully, and yet we get attacked, and yet we see another group who just does whatever they want to do and nothing happens. What now? What's the purpose of protesting if it's not going to have an equal weight, or if one group is given favors over another, And I sat there and I watched it and I looked at the clips and I just shook my head. I did. I shook my head. I'm like, wow.
I know, it was unbelievable. Like I was watching it live and it was just kind of, it was like, really, this is legit happening. It's like nothing is, yeah.
Yes.
Nothing was met with resistance at all.
No, not at all. Like, it was like, we're going to open up the floodgates and we're just going to let y'all just come in and have your way. But it's like, no, it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way. And again, like I said, to those elected officials, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Shame on you. Shame on you. To those police officers, again, at some point, shame on you too as well. Shame on you. Shame on you, because you're the face of America, and you have leaders in other countries that are talking against about what's going on in America. That should not be. It shouldn't be. If America is really home of the free and the brave, then come on. There's got to be some bravery, some kind of bravery to say, hey, that ain't cool. That's not right.
It was pretty brave to storm the Capitol, though. That's pretty brave.
But again, there's no resistance.
I know.
It was more so like, oh, okay, well, here you go. Like, here's the keys. take off, do what you want to do. We're just going to sit back and watch. Like, no, if you were raised up to know right is right and wrong is wrong, and you know that what happened was wrong and you still did nothing, you're wrong just as much as they are. Point blank, period.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the word resistance.
Come on.
So one of my favorite books of all time that I recommend to everyone is called The War of Art, not The Art of War, The War of Art by this man named Stephen Pressfield.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like kind of like a self-help book to make you do what you need to do. Yeah, true. There is a very fine line.
Yeah.
So I want to really call this so the enemy of the book is resistance, this thing called resistance in our lives. And resistance isn't either good or bad. Resistance's sole purpose is to keep things as they are. Mm-hmm. And you may see that in your personal life when you want to work out and you're like, it's already 8 o'clock. I don't really want to go to the gym. Or it's like, I gotta mow the lawn. Or it's like, I want to write this book, but I'll start next week. It's not a big deal. Or my family is here. I don't, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever excuses that you come up with mm-hmm. are excuses that you didn't even realize are excuses. So I've been noticing when you're met with resistance in this country, you're probably working towards the right thing. The fact that they were essentially let in and were met with little to no resistance, I'd say, means that this is how the country is. This is how they want things as they are. This is them trying to go back to comfort, essentially, where you're comfortable. Because to break out of your comfort zone in this country, if this country is personified as a human being, it's uncomfortable. It's not necessary, and it doesn't add anything to your life. Writing a screenplay doesn't necessarily add anything to your life if you have a full-time job and you can eat every day and you have somewhere to sleep. Like, why do that? Why do human beings feel this need to do that? But it's a drive. It's what you feel that on this God-given earth, this is like your purpose, is what you need to do. Mm-hmm. So how I view it is that if they were met with no resistance, this is America trying to go back to what it knows. It's not trying to resist. It's not trying to fight against, resistance. It's not trying to beat against resistance. It's trying to go back to, how it's always been.
Yeah.
This is in a way like the natural state of America. It's just white people being able to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah. And
no resistance and
yeah. And And we're not going to say it's everybody. No, we know it's not everybody. We know that much. It's those that.
Of course not. It's not everybody. No.
Yeah, it's just those that felt as though they were left behind and they stood behind a person who said he understood their pain and struggle, but necessarily that's not the case. And use what feared them the most and got them to rally behind him to push for something that, in my opinion, I don't think was actually there, but because of the fact that he fed in to what they were most afraid of and say, I'm going to champion you as a person, they got behind that. And It is. Yeah. And it's like
we're not naturally supposed to change. So we need to fight against resistance.
Yeah.
So I guess in this case, there was no resistance. So it was just trying to be how it is. Maybe how I worded it was a bit confusing. But if you're succumbing to resistance, then you're trying to keep things as it is. And I feel like that's what happened at the Capitol, just kind of succumbing to resistance. It's just, this is what it is, this. And this isn't me trying to like I can't remember the correct term, but I'm not trying to hint at like the resistance, like those fucking blue wave emoji people on Twitter. But I'm not trying to. That's not what I say by resistance. I mean like the actual like literal term from the book, The War of Art.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, since they weren't resisting, since they weren't trying to fight against, like there was no resistance, so they were pretty much in a way succumbing to the resistance. If that makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Chat, hopefully you guys are getting what Ella's saying.
It's like when you, instead of going to the gym, you sit on the couch. You're just kind of succumbing to your natural state of not needing to do anything extra, because what's the sense of doing anything extra? So I guess in reference to today, them storming the Capitol was them not necessarily doing anything extra, because this is just America being lazy, sitting on the couch, just letting white people do whatever the fuck is America's version of, personified just sitting, lazily on the couch.
Yeah. And I don't know how the next few days, weeks are going to turn out, and hey Keith, what's happening? Love you too. And before I forget, shout out to the subscribers, you guys. You guys are awesome. Shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome. You make doing this worthwhile. Yes. Shout out to Yang Gang. And even if you're not in the Yang Gang, you just want to just come by and just chill and relax. Shout out to you as well, because you could have been doing something totally different, but you press your way on to check us out, to talk about what's happening. So we thank you. We appreciate you. And so going back, it's now it's time from story. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bill.
Exactly.
Yeah, excuses for exactly that. It's just America succumbing to, just being lazy on the couch. It's like, oh, this is America. This is how I am.
Yeah. And
I'll do it next week. I'll work on it next week. It's like, it's Joe Biden's problem in 2 weeks. Kind of thing.
And again, sure, we could pass it on, but it's still a problem that still exists.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to continue, that means it hasn't been dealt with. And so it doesn't matter which administration that it's under, it's still a problem. It needs to get dealt with, and irregardless of how we slice the pie, it doesn't matter how the cookie crumbles, it's still a problem.
Right, of course.
Still a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
All right.
That's all right. We love you. We just appreciate you for stopping by. That's all that matters.
Sure.
We appreciate you for stopping by.
Stay safe at work, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Keep your job. Keep your job. You may not like it, but at least keep it till you find a better one. Do that much.
Just stay safe, wear a mask. I don't know what Keith does, but hopefully Keith is staying safe. It was so hard for me to work today. Like, I think I worked. I think I did stuff. I'll find out tomorrow. I guess that's future Elle's problem.
Oh man.
They're like, oh, you have I have like a meeting tomorrow where I gotta, present what I, have to do for like this thing I'm coding. I'm like, I hope it's done.
Oh, oh, poor L. Oh man.
I technically do Friday, so I'm not,
All right, Keith. All right, Keith. We'll catch you later. Swing by next week, Tuesday at 9 if you can. If you can, swing by next Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
9 Eastern time.
Yes, thank you. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
And then y'all.
But yeah, I mean, you guys, chat, those watching, your thoughts, your perspective. Like, based upon what we see and what we've witnessed, what do you guys think needs to be done? Oh yeah, that one.
I did a lot, so I was fighting resistance. Like my natural state is to not do anything. Human beings aren't supposed to code. Okay.
Oh man, that was good. Wow, Bill. Shout out to you.
I love my job, truly. Like I love the company. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh yeah, we feel it. We feel the love. We're goofballs as it is anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
We love you right back.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, but yeah. So chat. What do you guys think? What do you guys think is going to happen once this fallout hopefully dissipates? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that Congress is going to do something? I don't know, to prevent this from happening? Do you think that those Trump supporters, do you think they're going to be labeled as domestic terrorists? Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And I know some people say, oh, it's going to be a reach. Yeah.
May I ask what this is in particular? Like deep in like the people talking about this, Wild Bill, or I just want to make sure. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can.
I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, totally, and pretend I know what you're talking about.
Or just want a different perspective from a different kind.
Right.
You know.
LOL, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't want to do that to you.
Sorry, no, I'm not. But yeah, you guys, drop your thoughts. Like, what do you think is going to happen once this fallout dissipates, and if anything is going to happen, if things are going to still be the same old, like your guys' thoughts, because again, this is one of those things where it's like it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow, but even then, you got to still swallow it one way or another. You can wash it down with vodka, but hey, don't agree with what happened. Yeah.
And their domestic terrorism, this is an insurrection to I agree. I definitely think they should be forced to step down. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you a conservative as well, Wild Bill?
Yeah. Well, and Channy, while Wild Bill is typing, Channy, I know I was just on Twitter before getting it started. I saw Cori Bush. That woman is going to be a force to be reckoned with. She's already got papers drawing up, calling for the removal of those Republicans, whether they're in the House or in the Senate, calling them to step down because of the fact that they probably know about it, but still said nothing about it. And as Elle said, probably emboldened them to do this. I don't think it was
okay.
Left leaning. That's fine.
I got you. Yeah.
That's fine. That is fine. We respect that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. So I was wondering if Wild Bill was having conversations as a conservative with other conservatives, but they were okay. But back to what Channy was saying, and what you were saying, Ronald. Like that's good. Like I agree with what Cori Bush is doing, because that's really important. Because I'm tired of us just focusing on one person. During like the Obama years, we were only just focusing on Obama because he was the president and everybody, knew his name.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't, at least I didn't know the names of the senators. I didn't know the names of, the people in the House. I didn't know state legislatures and all this other stuff. And I'm still learning, but I feel like because of like the Trump presidency, it was like a rude awakening, and we had to learn all this, and we had to call out the BS, we had to call out the hypocrisy, we had to call out the what is going on right now, which is essentially treason. And like these Republicans, like Lindsey Graham, who's all of a sudden like, oh no, you guys got to stop. This isn't right. Blah blah blah. I was like, no, like you helped fan the flames. You helped fan the flames by saying, 1 second, oh, if we elect Donald Trump, it's going to be the end of the Republican Party, and we will deserve it, or something like that. He tweeted that out, I think, like May 16th, 2016, and now he was so totally on board with Donald Trump and just supporting him in every single direction. And now he's saying, "Oh no, guys, stop doing that with the Capitol." It's like what kind of news were you looking at? What kind of social media posts were you looking at? What was going on? Like, weren't you seeing this? I'm not saying that the people on the left are all in the clear and totally good and fine and everything, or I'm not saying that the left and the right are totally equal in craziness either. Like, you have to call out the bullshit when you start smelling it. To be quite frank, the right was definitely there was definitely more propaganda on the right. There's been so many studies on this. There's been too much. Yeah, there's just too much propaganda, like Facebook, all these circles, Reddit, Twitter, now Parler. I also heard it's pronounced parlay. I don't know, but there were so many.
Anarchists. Okay,
that's cute. Which is
okay.
Cute. But I don't know. This is what this is the resistance of America at its fullest when it comes to not calling a duck, not calling a white person. You cannot do that. It's like a no. You can't label a white person or like a white group of people who have these set of beliefs that are akin to like radical Islam or whatever. Like you're not allowed to make the comparisons for whatever reasons. Like, it's okay to be Christian, but it's not okay to be like a radical Christian who it's like, oh, if you're gay, you shouldn't have the same rights as me, because I will. This is the hill I'll die on, essentially and figuratively, and literally. Like you should be able to compare the two. The country should teach its people to be able to deduce the differences, and not say, oh, one religion is better than the other, or one thing, or one set of beliefs is correct and the other set of beliefs, religious beliefs, is just totally incorrect and we should shun them and pretend they don't exist, or criminalize them or make them seem evil or anything. And right. I'm speaking as a Christian as well. You should be able, especially, I believe it's the First Amendment. You can correct me. That's okay with religious freedom of religious expression.
Yeah, that's freedom of speech. Yes.
Yeah.
Religious assembly. Yep. Yes.
Yeah, yes. Religious assembly. Yes.
Yes. And again, at me as a Christian, and me and my brother, we joked about this a lot. He said, Ron, he's like, for you to be a Christian, you own a gun. He said, isn't that not right? I'm like, dude, listen, you got to understand this. I love me some Jesus. I do. I'm a Christian. Yes. I understand. Bible says, if someone slaps you on the cheek, you turn the other cheek, you let them slap you again. I get that. I totally get that. I do. Mm-hmm. When somebody enters into my house without permission and they impose to do bodily harm, not only to me, but to my family, oh no, that goes out the window. I'm fighting for survival. Like, no, that's not happening. I'm not with that. No, not at all. If I see you getting jumped, I'm not just gonna sit there and watch you get jumped. No, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna throw some blows, and hopefully I connect with somebody. Somebody get knocked out. I'm not gonna sit there and watch you bleed on the floor and not do anything. No, I'm gonna help. I'm going to help. And he laughed. He said, "Really?" I'm like, "Dude, if you told me, hey, I'm finna go do this, the person that I'm meeting, he's kind of shady.
Mm-hmm.
I'm locking up and loading up. I'm saying, let's go. That's it. I'm saying, let's go. Why? You're my brother. I'm going to protect you and make sure you come back to your family the same way how you left them. And I know if the shoe was on the other foot, you're gonna do the same for me." He laughed about it. He's like, "Yeah, agreed, agreed." You know, and
Because you know what's up. Like essentially, you know what the fuck is up in this
yeah,
country. You know that there's some crazy ass people, and you need to protect yourself.
yes, yes. Like I'm a firm believer of the Second Amendment. I am. I know. I know people in positions of leadership in most churches. Yes, they carry. They carry. It's just that because of the laws here, they can't carry inside the church building. But best believe, if anything was to pop off, they're going from here straight to the car, and they locking and loading. Like I'm with that. I mean, I lived in Colorado for 7 years. For those who don't know, I'm letting you guys know. I lived in Colorado for 7 years. The one church that I visited and went to, the whole security was packing. Everybody's security was packing because they understood that the reality is, yes, they're Christians, but at the same time, they also have the right to defend not only themselves, but also defend the people that are there who can't defend themselves. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And let one of these bozos come in and try to burn whatever. No. Nope, not today. You may get hit with a few, but that's okay. You just know you ain't stepping on my property and you ain't doing nothing stupid. Mm-mm. No, no, not at all. So I got my background check done. Yeah, I say all I have to say is I got it done. I'm gonna go Christmas shopping again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, but yeah, this thing has been wild, you guys. This thing has been wild. You know, I don't know. I think with the coming days and weeks and months, we'll see what the fall is going to look like. We'll see what the fall is going to look like. It might be ugly from this point on, but at least we know what we're dealing with. At least we know that much. Even then, we still know what we're dealing with. Now it's just out in the open, and I think because I think
no, I just felt like we knew that. I don't know if it's just us being Black people doing that, but I would say like all this is insane and crazy. It's just not surprising though.
True.
Which is the sad part. I was like, oh, them getting away with literally everything. Yeah, of course. This is what we've been, this is what Black people as a collective have been saying forever. It's like, oh, them getting away with, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't it happen? It'd be stranger if they didn't get away with it. Like, this is the America we know. This is America.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Donald Glover.
True. Yeah. Really, it's not surprising at all.
Like it would be surprising if there was actual, police officers in riot gear actually doing force. That would have been surprising. Like what? What? I've never seen this before. But no, like
yeah.
This is what needs to happen. This is fighting resistance in this country would be police officers in riot gear, waiting, like being prepared, being ready.
Yes.
It's not anything new that this group of people tends to be a little rambunctious. It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. I watched a stream where they tried to say that.
Darius, what's up?
This is Venezuela. Hey, McClinton. Huh.
Mikhail, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Mikhail? The looters.
Michael? Or is it just Michael?
Michael?
Or Michael?
I don't know.
Wait, what was okay, so I watched a stream earlier that tried to say that the looters were Antifa.
Mm-hmm.
No. No, they
Yeah, the looters.
no, like they were Trump supporters. I made this comparison many times because of
and like Elle said, you know.
in terms of saying this is Venezuela, is that what you're talking about, Wild Bill? Well, I'm sorry. I keep missing what he's talking about.
No, going back to earlier where we were talking about how the media.
I've been drinking, so you have to remind me what the hell I was saying.
Okay, so basically, you know how we're saying like what happened there. It's literally a domestic terrorist. They're domestic terrorists, but the media, they're calling them anarchists. They're not calling them a duck, even though it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it sounds like a duck. They're calling it a chicken. Like, no, call it a duck. It's like a duck.
They're beating around the bush.
It's a duck. It's a duck. It's not a platypus. It's a full-fledged duck. It's a full-fledged duck. And
like this is America, like I said earlier.
Yes.
This is what the media does. This is how they portray things. Like, I don't know if they're afraid. I don't know if it's what their boss is saying. I don't know if it's something like coming from higher up, or if this is just how they themselves truly feel. If they just feel some sort of reluctance to actually call a duck, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. So happy.
Money. Yeah. 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 David, what's good?
Hey.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yes.
No, you're totally right, Wild Bill. No, they're not. That's like they're not met with the same.
Not at all.
Maybe once every so often, just so white people can point it out on occasion when shit like this goes down. It's like, well, there was this one time, like when a white person kills a black person, and then they go back to the 1990s with OJ, because that's the most recent that they can come up with and think of. It's like, oh, well, OJ got away with it. Why couldn't the guy yesterday get away with it?
Right.
Like, you have to go all the way back to OJ? Okay. Where everything's fair. Even though, I am not saying OJ didn't do it I am not saying that. But, when it comes to getting acquitted for things that, were obvious, leave it at that, then.
Yeah, in my opinion, at a much larger scale. Oh yeah, definitely. And this is going to, if they're treated today like any Black Lives Matter protest, they would have been violent. Yes. Then anarchism, the classic home of white supremacist terrorism. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. Wild Bill, you are good.
Yeah. I'm a slow talker anyway, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, no, again.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, where are they? Domestic terrorists. That's it. That's who they are. And if the media won't say it, I'll say it. Elle, she might say it. She probably will say it. I don't know.
You're trying to pressure me. I'm not saying anything. I'm kidding.
I'm not saying nothing. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna call it out what it is. And if y'all got a
like, no,
problem
they're
with it,
Patriots. What are you talking about?
no, ain't no, ain't no picture gonna do that. No, we know for sure. Ain't no pick. Wait. Hold on. Let me rephrase this. The true patriots, they would not stand up for that whatsoever. They're like, no, get out of here. You're not supposed to be doing this. No, they're
Yeah,
not
are we
patriots.
supposed to be like defending our constitution and all that good shit?
Yes. Like, yeah, man. No, they are not patriots at all. Like, Law and Order, man, Law and Order was out the door. Like, that was gone. Law and Order decided to show up like, oh, okay, break time is over. Okay, let's go back and hit the streets. Let's go ahead and clean this up. Yada, yada, yada. Like, nah. Law and Order was not even in full effect. Law and Order was late.
I mean, and this is, as Black people, this isn't surprising at all. We know what law and order means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a dog whistle to say, you know, put Black people in their place or put people of color, brown people in their place. That's all it is. I'm guessing just to hold up the vote.
More than likely.
Yeah, you know, just to see how long they can let this go. I'd say when it comes to resistance, you know, just letting things be as it is, it's to just let Trump be the president. You know, so I feel like, I mean, this is my you know, opinion. I feel like they want to keep things as it is, but like, what is it that they're really fighting for? I don't like being ignorant in this subject, and you know, it's totally my fault. You know, my fault for, you know, being so ignorant with this. It's just I don't know what they're fighting for. I wish somebody can tell me. I wish I could you know, like watch a video where somebody is, you know, just speaking calmly, or you know, being saying like I was actually trying to look for Republican or just right wing Twitter users just yesterday, just to see, you know, just to find people to follow on Twitter, just to get like a difference of opinion. And every time I try to look for some, I don't know if this is just how my Twitter is curated, but it just seems to be very, very extreme. It's just like, especially if I look for like Black conservatives, it's always like the same old bullshit. It's just them saying, this is what the Dems are doing. Look at what this is happening. Blah blah blah. This and I personally, as somebody more so on the left, I don't really see that on my side of the aisle. I see it occasionally, but I don't see it as every single tweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see it as somebody's entire personality. And I'm sure there's people in the comments and watching who are like, "What are you talking about?" I see it in every single tweet on the left too. I see it exactly the same. And so, I guess like to go back to what I was saying, I just really wish I could understand what they're fighting for. It's like, what did Trump do? I feel like I talked to a lot of leftists on this, and you know, they say the same things that I know, which isn't good. You know, because it just the confirmation bias, and it makes me feel that everything I'm doing is correct. But I just don't know, like, what is it that they're seeing? What is it that, you know, when I was watching like the coronavirus updates, like Mike Pence would say, you know, like, and our president did this, this, and that, and he did it in such a way that, and then like they would just kind of give him such, I think the correct term is like bravado, give him such like, you know, like speak to him in such a way that, you know, made him seem like he was like a god almost. So it made me feel like I was missing something. But let me see what Michael has to say. No, yeah, you should all go to Democrat really. Right. No, I agree. It's the algorithm working. I've only seen just like a couple of clips from Tim Pool. I've seen a couple of clips from Tim Pool. It seemed like he's more conservative to me.
Yeah, and agrees. You critique
Right.
ideas when you have none of your own. This is true, and when I think about it, and I look back on it, I look back on the Obama years, you know, and I just turned 18 and was able to register to vote, and I remember watching CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and I remember all the flack that Barack got, not only from the Republicans, but also from the Democrats as well. You know, leading officials that were in the black community who said that no, Barack Obama, he should not be the first black president because of da 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 da, da that he doesn't stand in the line of the dreams of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I'm saying it, and again, mind you, I'm 18 at the time. I'm sitting thinking, like, what are you talking about? Like, this man actually has the chance to possibly break a cycle that's been a tradition for hundreds of years. You mean to tell me that Dr. Martin Luther King, who was assassinated for people like Barack to be able to step into a role that was held down by predominantly white males, to be able to break that for once and say, like, look, if I can do it, you can do it too. That it doesn't matter regardless of the color of your skin. That it matters about, are you committed to serving the people first and not corporations and whatnot? Like, he gave that hope. He gave that hope to people to understand that this is what America is all about. This is the dream that King had for years and years and years, even though he never saw it fulfilled. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. And I feel as though that when Barack got into office, and of course, you had Trump, even though he wasn't considering politics, he was throwing out the birther idea, talking about in order for anybody to be the leader of the free world, they had to be born in the United States and all this other mumbo jumbo. But he mimicked a lot of what was being said behind closed doors. He spoke in a way where people recognize that, hey, we have somebody in a position of power that's not like us, that's totally different from us. Like, that should not be. That should not happen. There's no way, you know. And I remember watching, and there was a lot of people who watched this too. I remember John McCain, when he lost, he's like, listen, he's like, this is history in the making that we're living in right now. We're witnessing the dreams of those who labored in this country to come into fruition. He's like, listen, we may not ever have another black president, regardless if it's male or female. We may not have another one. This is the one this is a win for the African American community. This is a win for the people of color to recognize and understand that he's able to do it. Let them relish in that moment. And I think that time, John McCain, he spoke from a place where it was like, yes, I lost, but I want to celebrate with him because this is historic. This is a historic moment. A lot of people, they couldn't see that as a historic moment, you know? And so, yeah, no, it happened. Oh, it clearly happened. And again, it was a very historic moment, but a lot of people, they didn't see that. They saw that as an attack of their sense of normalcy. They saw that as an attack of them, them not being able to live out their ideas if they have any. But yet at the same time, again, Trump, he was there, he was saying all these ideas and rights, and this is done the third, and how, you know, it shouldn't be. But he spoke that, and a lot of people, they resonated with that. So when Barack finished his 2 terms, yes, losing power, yes. So when Barack finished his terms and whatnot, of course, Trump, he was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and run. Why? Because he held the ideas of what many people had for those long 8 years. For other people, it was like, cool. We were fine with that. Having a first black president, sweet. Let's ride this thing out. But people were losing their minds and they needed some sort of normalcy. And I hate to say this, but Trump brought them their sense of normalcy. Trump gave them what they were yearning for, was that sense of normalcy, that sense of, having a white male holding the office as a president, because that's all they saw, that's all they knew. And so he gave that to them. And then from there,
you definitely have a point, Ron. And I'm sorry for interjecting.
No, you're good.
I remember I said this on a previous episode. I can't remember when, but
it's somewhere back there.
Yeah, it's somewhere. Yeah, I want to sift through this, but I'll give you a preview. So Malcolm Gladwell has a podcast. I haven't listened to it. I don't know if he's made any new episodes recently. It's called Revisionist History.
Mm-hmm.
And he had an episode about about how leaders of a country, if, for example, Barack Obama, first black president, woo, the whole world rejoiced, celebrated, things are changing, this and that. And we went right back to a white guy. Australia had the same thing. It was, had a woman, I believe they had prime ministers in Australia. So they had a female prime minister, a couple of years ago. And, they were like, woohoo, this is great, awesome. But, she was met with a ton of, sexism and, harsh critics and, pretty much what you'd expect from not the norm, which is, code for white men. And so they went right back to a white man, as their prime minister, leader, whatever. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying about resistance, and how when you succumb to I'm not saying you elect a white man, you succumb to resistance. Not exactly, but in a way, kind of. You go back to, I guess, what is I want to say the norm. I don't know if that's the correct term, but just going back to normal. What if the country is once again personified as a person, what this person knows. This person, which is a country, knows that they're used to white men as their leader. Not to say anything against white men, of course not. And I'm not just saying any old white guy, but that just seems to be what the country knows. Exactly. Right, exactly. If you trash the change, then you solidify the norm.
Bars.
Right.
Sad but true.
Yeah. So I know that there was a lot of people who probably just voted for Joe Biden in the primaries because they were just feeling like, well, this country just wants old white men, so here you go. And maybe they were right, honestly. As sad as that may fucking sound, but Joe Biden won. He is an old white man. I don't know. He was able to say, "Won't you just shut up, man," or something like that during the debates, which I'm sure Hillary Clinton wanted to say a million times. Yeah. No.
For the rest of us, this is what we wanted.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, and this may be an unpopular opinion. I know that it came close to, down to the wire in November for Joe Biden to win. I don't know if Yang would have won any more or any differently. Some of you may say yes, some of course everybody's like, of course yes. What the fuck are you talking about? I guess like what I'm saying is, like we see all these people on Reddit, on Twitter, and the internet, and this is like kind of where we like communed, and we don't know where these people necessarily were. It's like, oh, I'm a conservative and I love Yang. Oh, I'm a Republican. I love Yang. I'm libertarian. I love Yang. And it's like if there was like 5 people in Oklahoma, 17 people in Idaho, 30 people in Wyoming, or like these really deep red states, or like like a conservative in Brooklyn, all tweeting and redditing and doing all these things together, I don't know how big of a difference it actually was. If you understand what I'm saying. And also with the coronavirus, because the coronavirus would have still have happened, they would have just, Yang being Asian, they would have, like, really, the Republicans wouldn't have used Yang being Asian to just be like, oh, China virus, Chinese, he's Chinese, he's Asian, he's Chinese, blah blah blah. He's not going to be hard on China. Like they would have ramped that up to 11. So that's why I'm so concerned, because and I've said this before, like several times, propaganda is one hell of a drug. People are just eating that, sucking it up, drinking it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Mm-hmm. So when they keep constantly seeing like Yang being, like a communist, or Comrade Yang being from China, even though he was from Taiwan, it doesn't matter. He's Asian. They can say he's from China, they'll believe it. They can say, anything they want, and they'll believe it. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
I want to say like, oh yeah, it would have been a landslide, of course, but I don't know. Like racism, like mixed with propaganda, it is deadly.
Yes, and I know that, and I feel what you're saying too, Al. And when I think about it in terms, and especially in the terms that you put it in, it would have been, I wouldn't say a disaster, but it would have came off very much racist, a lot of propaganda, a lot of slander because of the fact of the environment of which the country was already set in at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And so it would have definitely would have had people feeling some type of way, and again, because of the fact that he's different, and because of the fact that he doesn't fit into the more so quote unquote typical norm of everybody else, he was already an outsider compared to everybody else. It would have taken a lot to even make sure he won. It would have took a lot to make sure he would have crossed that threshold, But again, like Elle said, propaganda mixed with racism, that is one drug that most people cannot shake, even if they try. They can't shake it.
Yeah, they'll just be like, I don't know, there's something about Yang. He just doesn't seem strong enough. And it's because he's Asian. So you have that implicit bias that you're not willing to acknowledge or accept. It's like, oh, I don't know about Yang. He doesn't seem like he will, like defend us against China. When you don't know that, like the man's American, but you're not going to give him that chance because he's not a white man. That's probably your personification of strength. Or you can't see yourself, or you can't see your father, you can't see your brother, you can't see someone who you see as strong, as an Asian man, because for whatever reason, and
mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like I'd love to think that like, oh yeah, he would have won flying colors. It would have been nothing. But the truth of the matter is that we just simply do not know.
Yeah.
I would like to say so, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, and I look at it like this too. He didn't have that name recognition that Biden had. We'll call it spade a spade. He did not have that name recognition. And I feel as though because of the fact he didn't have name recognition on the same level as Biden, he would have been a tough sell for most people. He would have been a tough sell for most people. However, what I think now, especially since he's been out there, he's been in the open, he's been doing a lot more good being an outsider than the insider and whatnot. That would, if he decides to run, we'll put it like this: if he decides to run, that would help him out a lot more versus him trying to run during the environment which he was trying to run, if that makes sense. And so with him being out in the public space, and with him being out in the view of the public, and doing these little small things here and there and setting people up for success, that's going to look very well on him again if he decides to run, and break that norm once again that happened before him. Let's see. Jaden, man, we're gonna have a tough time with being live social media.
That's a good viewpoint. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Obama was like the senator of Illinois, right? He was the senator of Illinois.
Yep. And I'm actually reading his book, The Promised Land. It's a really good book. He talks about what he was doing up until the time of his presidency, even after his presidency, what he's been doing. And so he talks about that. And I think the part of the book that I'm in, it talks about how he actually got introduced into politics and what he app stereo. I have not. This is my first time hearing about the app stereo.
When you plug in, I think the white and yellow cords, you get stereo.
That'll work. Old school Nintendo. Yes. Yes. That's a game if I needed to hear one.
Exactly. Pretty sure I read his video, but I think the white and yellow was stereo. Literally no one who actually paid attention to the chord. Right. White goes to white, yellow goes to yellow.
Oh man, you two have a good show on that. Just another platform to get the word out.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll keep that in mind. Yeah. But again, going back to what Bat Noir said, like, because of the area that he was in especially in not New York, in Chicago, when he was running for at the time, he didn't want to go for state senator, but he went for not for the U.S. senator, but for state senator.
Right. Yeah.
That helped him out, and because of the connections that he had there and the relationships that he built, even when he was an organizer, mind you, he was an organizer too for a campaign. He got his name out there. And so when it came time for him to run for the U.S. Senate race, again, a lot of people like, oh, we know who Barack is. We're familiar with Barack is. We know what he's been doing. Like, yeah, sign that man up. Go for it. And even then, when he was a senator, he was still shaking and moving and just being who he is and doing what he does. And so when it came time for him to run for presidency, of course, you already know that the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois for the most part, oh yeah, they would vibe with him real quick. It's just allowing him to be able to sell his pitch towards everybody else. Yeah, it would have helped out a lot, and then also too, due to the climate of 2007, 2008, it was very different, very much different, because you had a recession that hit a lot of people. You had a lot of businesses go out. I mean, the big three, just to kind of give you an idea, that was stationed out of Detroit, they were looking at shutting down their doors. I mean, eventually they end up closing a lot of plants in Detroit. So already you already got 500,000 people in Detroit out of a job. The other half, they still have a job, but they're just kind of like waiting on to see if they're gonna get fired, laid off, whatever the case may be. You have that going on. And so Barack, he comes in with this message of, I'm here to give you hope for a better future, of a better tomorrow. And that's all I can give you, is give you some kind of hope that things are going to get better. And that's what he ran on. And even then, when he won, you go back to, what would it be, 2011, 2012, when he ran again, he used that same message of hope and kind of flipped it around and said, okay, now we got hope established. Let's get some necessary change in. Let's go ahead and let's change the way how things are done here in America. Let's change the status quo, and let's make sure that change, it lasts. And it lasts for not for this current generation, but for those next generations to come. And so, boom, you got that going on. But again, going back to what I said originally, a lot of people, they did not want that change. They wanted to have the same old, same old. Enter in Trump. He says, look, I want to get you guys back to that same old, where you're working that 9 to 5. Those manufacturing companies that you had, your whole family, from your mom, your dad, and up and up and up, your aunties and uncles. I want to give those back to you. That's what he fought for. He fought for Trump, mind you now. He fought for going back to normalcy, And so now again, we fast forward 2020. This is what the so-called normalcy he promised, but in a way not really necessarily delivered. Now people are speaking out and doing things that is like very contrary to what we've known. My little two-piece of the puzzle. Yes. And again, he promised to go back. He promised to bring those old jobs back. He did a lot of promising, but never really delivered. And so I think over the 4 years of his presidency, a lot of it was just fueled up, pent up frustrations. And after the disagree, many voted for Trump for the change of him not being a child.
That's true. But also, it was mainly because he was promised. It was that, and also mainly because he was promising to bring the old jobs back.
Yes.
People didn't really want to change. Like if you've been working at this job for 20 years, like a factory worker working, or like a coal miner working at the same job for 10, 15, 20 years, it's very hard to just pack up all that experience that to then go on to do something else. What they're typically saying was, become a coder, become a developer, and that's not an easy thing to do. Speaking as a developer, I'm proficient in one area, but to try to code an app, no, like that's just way too difficult. And that's me. Like I'm actually familiar with that. But for someone who's a coal miner to actually go ahead and do that, that's going to be a whole lot different. So, yeah. So, but Trump was saying, hey, that job that so well, that you know how to do, I'm going to bring it back. He saw the weakness within the Rust Belt, the Midwest, all the states that he needed to win and did. When he saw the weakness that the Democrats were pretty much ignoring, like what Yang would always say, we automated 4 million manufacturing jobs in all the swing states. So this completely decimated a lot of these areas. And, people essentially wanted money. They didn't know that. They just thought they needed to work to get money. I wouldn't want to do that here. It's a very dangerous job to coal mine.
Oh man.
I might be able to learn how to coal mine. I mean, like a minor could learn how to code. Like it's they could, but like when would they have the time to sit down and learn? Yeah,
Mhm.
they could, try to do that, make time to do that, but the likelihood of that is not, if you're trying to help 75,000 coal miners and have them
Stop
all.
it, Stop it, Bat. I get what you're saying. Clever.
Yes.
Clever.
I mean, bit coal mine.
Oh man. That's awesome. That is awesome.
but but yeah, to also, to go back to what I was saying earlier about, resistance and, just going back to your norm. People were, hungry for their norm. People were hungry for their norm, even if it was sad, like working paycheck to paycheck, working 2, 3 jobs just to make ends meet. They were making ends meet at least to have their job go away, to have it seem as if the Democrats weren't caring about them or just, telling them to learn how to code or, just somehow find some time to do that, just, figure it out or blah, 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 and not seem to care. And there was also a lot of like identity and racial politics going on, especially towards the end of Obama's presidency, with like the shootings and things like that. So that was another fire to the flame about like, especially like these white people in the Rust Belt, like Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and those states, they just weren't feeling seen, which is understandable. Like that,
Mhm.
that was a huge fuck up on the Democrats' part. I'll agree.
I'll agree with that one too, Al.
Exactly. Like you're not going to
Yeah.
need 75,000 coders unless so many people are coming up with apps and websites and robots and like all these technologies, like, and that's just like, because I know that I think like 75,000 coal miners got their jobs back or something. That's where I'm getting that number. I mean, but essentially it's just an arbitrary number. But yeah, I mean, I kind of lost my train of thought, but people essentially wanted to go back to what they knew. They didn't,
Mhm.
they didn't want to essentially learn a new skill because that's not likely. That people aren't robots. No pun intended. We're not just gonna, just go, but like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do this, and then just start doing it. We get sick, we get tired, we have feelings, we get sad, we get depressed. We have vices, we have all these certain things. We're not just gonna go and just up and do this just because society calls for it. We're gonna do what we want to do, not what society tells us to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. People, want to go back to a norm. If sadly, if it's like a majority white people running things and doing things and owning things, and like they know how to message and use propaganda towards to just skew your thoughts to think that like, oh well, this Muslims entering my country isn't natural or et cetera, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
All heard this, but like, people just want to go back to a normal, but nobody wants to create a new normal.
Facts.
Yeah, to
Facts.
put it succinctly.
Facts. And I'll even take it a step further. Nobody wants to create a promising, lasting change because it forces them to be uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And again, I mean, Elle, you probably have made this phrase more prominent than anything else. People who want change, they have to be able to be uncomfortable. And by them being uncomfortable, speech impediment, with them being uncomfortable, it forces them to grow. And I feel as though not enough people want to be uncomfortable, which means not enough people are wanting to grow. They just want to stay stagnant, plateau, right where they're at, and that's the end of the story.
Whether they want to admit it or not, they want change to happen around them, but they don't feel the need to change themselves to, to add on to the change of the world.
Exactly. And so it's a sad but true statement. Sad but true statement. So we're gonna wrap this thing up, you guys, and we just wanted to come on and chit chat and talk about the current events. If the change comes and if you're successful, the people have to admit they were wrong. True. And again,
real quick, people won't really admit that they're wrong, though. People will always kind of assume that they're on the right side of history no matter what. Even like up until the point Martin Luther King Jr. died, he was not favored. I think like 37% of people favor him. Do not quote me on that statistic. But it was a really small percentage of people who favored MLK. But, nowadays we're like, oh, we have this day off. He had a dream. Segregation's over. And voila. But
I mean, in a way, I get where you're coming from. I do. Capitol being stormed is the same images that people fear when Bernie talks revolution and radical politics. Again, I get where you're coming from, because I know when Bernie was running, and I'll try to make this short as simple as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
When Bernie was running, he understood that there was a change that needed to happen in the country.
Right.
And he understood that the only way to change is to kind of have some kind of revolutionary force to be able to force that change. And because the ideas that he had was very much, I wouldn't even say far-fetched, but like Bat Noir said, it was radical enough to the point it was like, oh my gosh, like this will never be able to happen. Medicare for all, no, this will never happen. Free college tuition, no, we can't do that. That'll never happen. But he was looking ahead and understanding that the same old is not going to sustain most Americans. It's not going to sustain most Americans. At any point, or if anything, it was going to force them to realize that the same old would eventually fail them. And even if they knew they had to do something before the floor was taken up underneath them, they will make that necessary change, and they will do what they would have to do to make sure they stay afloat. And so a lot of things that Bernie said, a lot of people are like, no, that can't happen. But now you look at what happened today and you think, oh, people won't storm the Capitol. That's just too crazy. Nobody in our right mind would do that, but here we are. It happened. People are obviously not in their right mind, and yet it happened. And if that's not radical enough to awaken the American people and realize this can't no longer be the norm, that things have to change for the better of the next few generations, then I don't know what will. Honestly saying, I don't know what will. And if nothing wakes up the American people and get them thinking a little bit harder, what that says here, then again, it's still going to be the same old mess. That's what I can say. Same old mess.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my thoughts. Elle, do you have anything to add?
No, just the normal, be comfortable with being uncomfortable in terms of opening and expanding your mind.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make folks think harder about themselves.
I agree, Shani. No, we definitely need to call a duck and stop beating around the bush and whitewashing history and things like this. Because I like one of my biggest fears is that we're just going to whitewash this day, or we're probably not going to know about it. Like the other coup back, I think, in North Carolina, back in like the 1800s, back when the Republicans were kind of like Democrats and the Democrats were kind of like Republicans, and there were black people in like the lawmakers, and there was a coup. Thank you. Yeah, yes, sure.
Thank you.
And there was the one coup that's ever happened on American soil where they just kind of stormed the law house like that, and then took over North Carolina. They fucking lied about it in the history books, and nobody really knew about that until they did research about it recently. I think Vox has something about it, but no, there was a coup on American soil before. So when people are saying this is the first coup, maybe it's like, no, it's not. You got to learn your history, buddy. We gotta teach history. We gotta teach it truthfully, whether you like it or not. Whether you're like everyone's ancestors weren't perfect. Some of us have like grandparents that were assholes and treated. So it's like if you know that, like then how can you think, well, after my grandparents they were perfect, but just my grandpa was just no. Like we gotta be realistic. Like no families are perfect. Nobody's ancestors are perfect. There's gonna be some fucked up shit that you're gonna come across, and you just have to understand. It's just you gotta learn. You gotta learn from your history. You gotta learn from your past. You gotta learn from your country's history. And you gotta learn from your own ancestral history as well.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. All right, Yang Gang. That is our time for tonight. We appreciate you guys for stopping in, and thank you guys for just being active and faithful. I was going to say active and faithful. And again, come back next week, Tuesday. We got another episode, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And just come back, chill, kick back, relax, and, we have a good old time. Yeah. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Yang Gang. And for those that are not in Yang Gang, but all around the world, thank you guys for watching. And we will see you next week. Oh, no, Wild Bill, you are good.
No, yeah, of course. You're fine.
You are good.
Yeah, he's saying, sorry I derailed the convo at times. No, Wild Bill, you're fine.
You are good. Just bring your same energy Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure.
Bring that same energy Tuesday.
And of course, follow us, like, and subscribe on, we're on Periscope, which is Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yes. Look me up on Stereo Wild 101. Okay. Stereo. Got you. Yes. Peace, love, safe travels. We will be safe. You do the same thing too. Until next time. Bye.